The descent begins slowly, the water growing darker with every meter. What first appears as shadows soon becomes mass, then structure, then history itself. A forgotten World War II aircraft carrier lies undisturbed for decades. Time has not erased it. It has only softened its edges, allowing the sea to claim ownership. Silence here is absolute, broken only by drifting particles and the distant echo of memory. The bow emerges first, angled downward like a wounded giant. The bow shows heavy corrosion and barnacle growth. Every plate of steel tells a story of pressure, salt, and abandonment. Nature has rewritten the ship's surface, layering life atop death in an endless cycle. As the diver moves forward, the scale becomes overwhelming. The flight deck is littered with rusted planes from the battle. These machines never flew again. They remain exactly where chaos forced them to stop, their wings bent, their skins eaten away, frozen mid-moment. Among twisted metal, something far more human appears. A crew member's skeleton rests silently, frozen in time. No movement, no escape, just the final stillness of a life interrupted. The ocean preserves without mercy. Rising above, the superstructure looms. The superstructure bears faded insignia and years of decay. Symbols once painted for pride now barely cling to rusted steel, their meaning fading but never fully gone. Scattered nearby, tools, crates, fragments of duty. Decayed equipment still holds faint identification marks. Even now, these objects whisper names, numbers, and functions long obsolete. The hangar opens like a cavern. Inside the hangar, planes and skeletal remains tell their story. This is not a battlefield anymore. It is a tomb, tucked into a corroded corner. A chest contains rusted metals and naval artifacts. Achievements once awarded for bravery now lie swallowed by salt and silence. Moving along the hull, the port side shows battle scars and corroded deck structures. Each impact mark is a sentence in the language of war. At the rear, the stern and propellers have remained untouched for decades. No rotation, no thrust, just stillness. Identity slowly reveals itself. Faded insignia mark the hull, telling the carrier's identity. The ship remembers who it was, even if the world above has forgotten. Weapons remain where they last stood ready. The anti-aircraft gun is frozen in time, corroded and broken. It never fired its final shot. Across the deck, rusted fighter planes lie scattered, remnants of intense battles. These were once the edge of survival. Inside one cockpit, a pilot skeleton remains in the cockpit, untouched for decades. Hands where controls once were, eyes forever forward. The bridge emerges from darkness. The bridge stands silent, a ghostly command center beneath the sea. Orders once echoed here. Now, only water listens. Charts cling to walls. Old navigational charts and equipment are barely legible. Routes plotted, destinies chosen, none completed. Below deck, inside the hatch, crew skeletons lie among rusted supplies. They never made it out. Nearby, a life raft canister tells of desperate evacuation attempts. Hope, sealed, and never used. Along the hull, the starboard side shows battle damage and decades of decay. War didn't finish the job. Time did. Again, the stern. The stern remains unchanged, a solemn reminder of the past. Doors open inward. The hangar doors open to a chamber of rusted aircraft and forgotten relics. Darkness thickens. Inside, fighter planes lie frozen. Crew skeletons still at their stations. No alarms, no movement, just memory. Old communication equipment is barely legible after decades underwater. Messages stopped mid-history. Each plane tells a story of aerial combat and decay. Crew members remain frozen in place, their final moments preserved. The hangar elevator reveals deeper levels of the submerged carrier. Depth replaces light. Even the aircraft wheels show decades of corrosion and decay. Collapsed structures trap time itself. The deck catwalk has collapsed. Entrapping crew remains for decades. Tools and equipment lie forgotten, corroded by time and sea. The hangar's grim scene is a silent memorial to the crew. Above, the flight deck shows twisted planes and battle scars frozen in time. The aircraft's canopy is shattered, squadron numbers barely visible. A pilot's skeleton lies motionless, frozen in the chaos of battle. The tower watches endlessly. The control tower rises like a ghostly sentinel above the deck. Old controls and instruments are barely recognizable after decades. The starboard planes show decades of corrosion and neglect. Navigation charts and maps hint at the carrier's wartime missions. The deck's safety equipment lies destroyed and corroded with time. Crew members remain where they fell, frozen in silent testimony. The flight deck remains a haunting snapshot of a long-lost battle. At the aft deck is littered with planes corroded beyond recognition. Even the tail wheel shows decades of corrosion and neglect. The aft elevator leads to deeper hangar sections and hidden wreckage. A pilot's remains remain frozen near the elevator hatch. Aft aircraft lie scattered, their markings barely visible. Ammunition boxes reveal faded serial numbers and decades of decay. The starboard elevator shows heavy corrosion and marine growth. The propellers have been untouched for decades, frozen in time. The port-aft deck shows battle damage and years of decay. The aft flight deck remains a haunting testament to the past. Forward again. The forward deck shows twisted aircraft and decades of decay. Deck guns remain corroded, their markings barely visible. A crew member's skeleton lies beside a corroded aircraft. The bridge exterior is frozen in time, a rusted sentinel above. Control levers show decades of corrosion and neglect. Inside the bridge, crew skeletons remain at their stations. Binoculars and charts hint at missions long forgotten. Forward deck planes remain scattered, damaged by time and battle. A pilot's remains are preserved in the wrecked cockpit. The forward flight deck remains a silent memorial to the fallen. The safety nets have collapsed, entrapping debris for decades. An aircraft engine lies frozen in rust, decades underwater. Inside the bridge, time has preserved the final moments of the crew. The instrument panel is barely recognizable after decades of decay. The port side shows twisted planes and battle-damaged equipment. A pilot remains trapped where he fell, frozen in time. Deck guns are corroded, bearing silent witness to battle. Crates and equipment reveal traces of missions long forgotten. The starboard-forward deck lies in ruin, planes corroded beyond repair. The forward deck remains frozen, a silent testament to history. The forward hangar elevator descends into deeper wreckage. Inside the hangar, aircraft and crew remain frozen in time. Ammunition crates show the wear of decades underwater. The pilot remains trapped under twisted metal and decay. Maintenance tools lie abandoned, corroded by time and sea. Safety harnesses show evidence of hurried wartime evacuations. The elevator shaft descends into deeper levels of the carrier. Crew members remain frozen where they fell decades ago. The lower hangar is a labyrinth of wreckage and decay. The hangar's grim interior remains unchanged, a silent memorial. The lower hangar stretches into darkness, filled with decades of decay. Crew lockers remain, their names barely readable after decades underwater. Old tools and equipment lie untouched, corroded by the sea. The storage room has collapsed, trapping equipment and debris. Crew members remain where they fell, preserved in decay. Hidden crew quarters lie forgotten, sealed in rust and time. Tables and utensils remain, frozen as if the crew just left. Crew skeletons lie where they lived, a chilling underwater time capsule. The hangar is a maze of wreckage, rust, and silent witnesses. The lower hangar remains a haunting memorial to the fallen crew. A hidden weapons cache lies undisturbed, decades under the sea. Ammunition boxes reveal serial numbers barely visible after decades. A pilot skeleton remains trapped inside the corroded cockpit. The hidden deck section is a graveyard of rusted relics and bones. Old communication equipment lies corroded but intact. Crew members remain frozen where they fell decades ago. The collapsed nets show decades of corrosion and neglect. Navigation charts hint at missions long forgotten beneath the waves. The forward deck remains a haunting testament to war and time. The carrier's wreck stands frozen, a silent memorial to the fallen. The upper decks are littered with corroded planes and twisted metal. One aircraft still bears faint markings, telling its story of war. The cockpit canopy has remained untouched for decades. A pilot's skeleton is frozen where he fell decades ago. The upper deck reveals the full scale of corrosion and decay. Tailwheel and propeller remain corroded, a frozen relic of history. Hatchways hide secrets of crew and equipment, untouched for decades. Decades underwater have frozen this engine in corrosion. A forgotten aircraft emerges from decades of underwater decay.
And the rhythmic
This
sounds
aircraft
of a scuba
stands
regulator,
as the haunting
including
climax of the wreck story. The wreck's final secrets are revealed, frozen in time. Crew skeletons remain, silent witnesses to history's harsh toll. Even the propellers tell a story of war and decay. The upper deck stretches as a graveyard of rust and relics. All machinery is corroded, yet tells a story of its use. The nameplate offers a fleeting glimpse into a forgotten squadron. The twisted wreckage tells the story of the carrier's final battle. The diver surveys the wreck one final time, capturing every detail. The upper deck remains frozen, a silent memorial to history. The diver leaves the wreck behind, its secrets preserved forever underwater. Silence returns as the diver's lights dim with distance. The carrier no longer fills the frame, yet its presence lingers, pressing against the mind. This wreck is not merely steel and bone. It is unfinished history, locked beneath pressure and darkness, waiting for nothing. Above these decks, decades passed unnoticed. Nations rebuilt, wars ended, names faded from records. Yet here below, time never moved forward. Every corridor remains mid-breath. Every object suspended in the exact second the world changed. The ocean has not erased suffering. It has preserved it. Saltwater slowed decay, locking grief into place. These crew members never received funerals. No final words were spoken. Their story ended without closure, swallowed whole by depth and distance. What remains is not horror alone, but absence. The absence of rescue. The absence of answers. The absence of anyone who knew these faces when they were alive. The sea does not remember names, but it remembers form, position, and silence. Each skeleton is a reminder that war does not end when weapons fall silent. It continues indefinitely for those left behind. This carrier never returned home. It never unloaded its wounded. It never reported its final condition. The diver hovers one last moment, understanding now that exploration is intrusion. Some places are not meant to be disturbed. Not because they are dangerous, but because they are sacred in their stillness. Metal groans faintly under pressure, a sound not heard but felt. The ship is collapsing slowly, molecule by molecule. One day, even this grave will disappear. The planes will flatten. The decks will fold inward. The bones will dissolve into the sea. And when that happens, nothing will mark where they fell. No monument will rise here. No flag will wave. The ocean does not build memorials. It consumes them. The carrier's final battle did not end in fire or explosion. It ended in waiting. Waiting for rescue that never came. Waiting for light that never returned. Waiting until memory itself began to fail. This wreck is not frozen because it is preserved. It is frozen because it was abandoned. As the diver ascends, darkness closes behind him. The wreck vanishes, not dramatically, but quietly, as it has always existed, as it will continue to exist, unseen, unheard, unacknowledged. Above the surface, the sea gives no indication of what lies beneath. Waves roll on indifferent. Ships pass overhead, unaware they are crossing a cemetery. And deep below, the carrier remains, still at battle stations, still waiting, still silent, forever.